Hello everybody, welcome to another review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the brand new album by the Canadian metalcore band Spiritbox with Tsunami C, their second record, and yeah, this is the second album I have waited to experience from the band. I've been following them when they were releasing some of the singles for Eternal Blue. I think it was Circle With Me and Constance were the two that I remember being released, and those are the ones I mainly followed from. I didn't really follow anything else, but that's the kind of stuff I remembered from Spiritbox. And then Eternal Blue, their debut was very big, and it definitely put Spiritbox on the map, and they just continued to grow with the Rotoscope EP in 2022, which is 3 tracks that kind of play into a different experimental area. And then they released the Fear of Fear EP 2023, which actually has 2 Grammy nominated songs on there, being Celador and Jaded, as well as also spawning some of their biggest hits in some way, especially as I mentioned, Jaded and The Void are definitely some of their biggest. But this is a new, highly ambitious second record from the band, and I'm going to be going through track by track and telling you my personal opinion, so let's go into it. So we start with Fata Morgana, which is a very interesting opener. It doesn't quite do the similar thing to Sunkiller, where Sunkiller is a more kind of calmer song, a more collective song. It does play with some heavy moments, but it's more or less relaxed and uses the energy to build up towards the end for an absolute breakdown, which is definitely a nice way to start off Eternal Blue. Fata Morgana kind of does something a bit different. It just brings you in some heavy breakdown guitars, which definitely reminds me of the kind of crunchy, distorted, janky sound of ERRA's Crawl Backwards Out of Heaven, which is really fun, to be honest, on this one. The melody is pretty decent. I'm not the biggest fan of the chorus, but I think the overall structure from the heavy to the soft vocals are nice. The atmosphere is great, and it's definitely an interesting way to start off Tsunami C. Not what I expected, but I like this track. Next we have Black Rainbow. I'm not as big on this one. This one definitely has a lot more the electronic distortion on the voice, and I think with the mixing we have, it sounds nice and quite well polished. But Black Rainbow, yeah, this one's still good. I just kind of think it's a more standardized track on the record. It definitely plays with the grooves we hear. It's definitely got that metal sound. It's aggressive. Yeah, it's just standard Spiritbox doing Spiritbox. We approach our first single. Well, not the first single, but this is the first single you hear on the record, Perfect Soul. Also the first song that's entirely just melodic and doesn't really have any aggressive vocals. I quite like this one. I think this one has some very nice harmonies. The overall atmosphere of this one, it definitely plays into the sound of Tsunami C and its grooves, but I think it definitely works with how good of a chorus it is. Definitely a good single. It wasn't my track of the week, but I quite enjoyed it nonetheless, and I think Perfect Soul is one of those singles that just works better on the record, and it shows. Probably my favourite song so far on the album. We next have Keep Sweet. I gotta be honest, probably one of my least favourites on the record, but I still enjoy it. It's definitely a good song. The mixing's great. The way it kind of starts with this more electronic, weird, dreary sort of sound that goes into this heavy out of nowhere is quite nice. But Keep Sweet to me just kind of, it's one of the examples of when they experiment a lot more on this record than they did with some of the last album at least. This one definitely has more of an experimental play with the groove. I can see why. It's a good song though, I do like it. We have Soft Spine, the lead single of the record, and this was my track of the week when it came out. It's fun, it's heavy, I like the grooves on it, the little electronic clicking noises as it builds up into the chorus is great. I love the fact that this song is just pure aggression all the way through, although to me, it kind of comes off as a little bit more of a groovier, slightly weaker version of Celador, which I will just say now, still is my favourite Spiritbox song of all time. It is absolutely menacing how dark, gritty, and absolutely devastatingly heavy that song is. But Soft Spine's still great, as I think it fits into Tsunami C very well, and it has this very mysterious sound. Definitely Soft Spine's a good single, I like this one. We get Tsunami C, and this one definitely reminds me of Eternal Blue, the track, how both these songs are the title tracks of these albums, but they're definitely one of the more calmer, less heavy songs, as there's not really any screaming on either. And I think I kind of prefer Eternal Blue and how they did it on that record, but Tsunami C definitely still has a very nice melody, it's got nice rhythms, and I even like the guitar breakdown towards the end of the song. It's well structured, it's a nice sounding song, I like it. A Haven with Two Faces. From the title alone, this was my most intriguing track, or at least the track I was most intrigued by. And yeah, this one's quite interesting. I like the way that this song definitely has heavy to it, but it also plays really well into Courtney's clean vocals. The song kind of goes around this midway part where it feels like the song could end, but then they slowly hit its sign. They kind of give you this false ending, if you will. It feels like the song might just have a long outro, but then just builds up and excels into some absolute menacing breakdowns that I really enjoy. Definitely a fun song, although I kind of wish it was a little shorter, but yeah, still A Haven with Two Faces is a pretty good track. We had the third and final single, and I will talk about the other single if you remember about that, which comes up in a minute. No Loss, No Love. I like this one quite a lot. This song is definitely a lot of fun. It plays into the more aggressive tone of Spiritbox. I just love how menacing this one is. It definitely has more to offer than Soft Spine, which is just more of a groovy metal experience, but I like the way it kind of have this little just kind of like little electronic deadpan delivery that goes right before the refrain on this track. It's fun. No Loss, No Love is definitely one of the more interesting ideas on this record, and one of the examples that the experimenting definitely pays off. I like this one. We have the forbidden single, Crystal Roses. That's what I mentioned by earlier. Crystal Roses was leaked as a fourth single or just randomly uploaded against the band's wishes. The band wants to take it down, so from everything else apart from a few streaming services, this song was taken down. It was released a few days before the album came out. But Crystal Roses, I can definitely see why this was a choice that the record label wants to release as a single, but I don't think it necessarily was the best idea to do that. It kind of feels like how Architects released Everything Ends from the latest album. It feels so different from anything else on the record, and then they just released a heavier song that kind of acted like it wasn't meant to be out as a single. I don't know. That's just personally how I perceived it, even though it clearly was intended to be a single. Crystal Roses is a very heavy electronic song. It doesn't really have much rock or metal until the end, where the guitars just slowly fade in with the drums, but I'm not the biggest fan of it. I'd probably say this is one of Spiritbox's weakest songs. I do like the song on its own, but in accordance to the rest of the album, I don't think it really holds up as well. I think while the experimental side, it definitely shows within a lot of these tracks, I think Crystal Roses kind of goes a bit too far into taking a big risk there, and I mean, I appreciate that with that, because it's very refreshing to see, but yeah, Crystal Roses, I love the song in its own way, but I don't think it necessarily was the best fit for the record. Ride the Wave, which is one of my favourite songs from the record. I think as a non-album single, this to me is one of the ones that stood out straight away. The melody's great, I love the whole structure of it, and it doesn't go too heavy at any point, but it has some nice grooves until it gets to the breakdown, where I think it's one of the best conceived breakdowns. You can see it coming, it's a bit predictable, but it still shocked me, and I think that's definitely a powerful breakdown if it does that and you're anticipating it. Really good song. Ride the Wave. Yeah, I think this is definitely an example why I'm preferring the second half of the record to the first. I think the second half is showing a lot more bolder ideas. While the second half does have my least favourite Spiritbox track, it definitely has a lot more of my favourited ones, so I'm appreciating that. Ride the Wave, definitely one of my favourites. We end off at the deep end, and yeah, I love this one. This one's another more melodic track, and I'm liking how Courtney is using the heavy and the softer ideas on this record. It definitely feels like the heavier tracks really outshine than some of the Eternal Blue stuff, but at the same time there's still a lot of melodic moments that really holds up nicely, and Deep End is no exception. This track is a great way to end off the record, and compared to Constance, the last album closing track of Eternal Blue, I think this one's a stronger track. I think it just plays into the more melodic tone nicely. It's got a better chorus, got a better groove. and it definitely is a nice way to kind of go for this more emotional send-off when a lot of the tracks kind of went for this more eerie aesthetic, like Fata Morgana did, Black Rainbow, Soft Spine, especially Ride the Wave of how eerie that was. So it's a nice way to kind of wrap up all of that. So the whole album, to me, I think it's more of a grower album. I find it, as I go listen to it more and more, it does hook on me more, but originally I kind of felt it was a bit underwhelming, especially with what we've had beforehand. To me, when it comes to a concrete album from Spiritbox, I gotta give it to Eternal Blue just a bit more. I think Eternal Blue just throws in a lot of these very fun curveballs, and just the structures they play with are very nice. This definitely is the more polished, more rounded and well experimented album that I can see a lot of people liking more. There's been absolute huge praise for it, but in my eyes, I think while this album is actually really good, I think I kind of prefer Eternal Blue a bit more. But both albums have actually been incredible. I think still the Fear of Fierce best material does pretty much knock a lot of these songs down, like Celador, Jaded and The Void. I feel like that's probably some of the best experimenting the band has ever put out, but I really am enjoying this direction Spiritbox took as well, and I'm curious to see where they go from here. This album's great, but I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. I kind of wants to get into this one a little bit more, but we'll have to see how it goes in the long run. But yeah, it's a pretty good record. Hope you enjoy. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next video.